Girl, are you wearing the same thing you wore in your March TBR video? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I shot those videos back to back because your girl is behind on her content, like I said in that video, in my March TBR video. So you got it again. You got the resist shirt, you got my scarf. The only thing different is that I had to put my little house cardigan on because it got a little chilly in here. I can't turn the heat on because it's noisy and cause some sound issues. But yeah, your girl's wearing the same thing because she shot back to back videos. Don't be mad. Actually, I highly doubt y'all mad. Y'all don't care. Y'all are chill. Y'all don't care. It's all right. But yes, just know that that's why I'm wearing the same thing.
I'm outside in an AMG, right outside, TT.
What up, beautiful people? Hi, welcome back. Missed you in between shooting that last video and shooting this one, which was all of 5 minutes. But thank you so much for returning. Your girl Jess here with another video. This one is my February wrap up. We have a lot of fuckery and a lot of amazingness to get to, so I'm gonna be quiet right now and we're gonna jump right into it, okay? Okay, we're going to start with the book that I didn't get a chance to get to, and that is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I am still very, very eager to get to this book, to read it. I was going to move it to my March TBR. It was going to be my Black African American spot for the intersectionality that I'm incorporating in my reading list for next month for Women's History Month. Well, this month for Women's History Month. But after having spent Black History Month reading some very... I don't want to say intense, but very serious literary fiction by a lot of Black authors. I was just kind of like, okay, I know this is fantasy or sci-fi / fantasy, but even still, when we switch up genres, it gets a little intense, it gets a little dark, it gets a little deep, and I was not looking to read anything by a Black author that was any deeper than a laugh. So I was like, okay, we're going to move this to a TBD. So yes, I didn't DNF this. I TBD'd it. I didn't get a chance to get to it. I'm so freaking sorry, but it will be read by me by the end of the year. That is no joke. I'm still excited by this book. It is a chunker, and so I'm excited about the story that's going to be told in here. But yeah, I unfortunately did not get a chance to get to The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, but don't worry, I will by the end of the year. Another TBD on my list is Island Queen by Vanessa Riley. I did start this. I got about, what page? I got 30 pages in. It's not bad. It's honestly really good. So far, the 30 pages I read so far weren't that bad. I picked this up at the end of the month within the last 3 days of the month, and I just wasn't in the mood. I was really eager to start my books from my March TBR because I'd already picked them by the 25th of February, and what I was going to read, I already bought them. So I was just eagerly waiting by the mail to get started on those. And so I just, my heart wasn't in reading it. It wasn't bad. I just my focus, my attention wasn't in it. So I just wasn't really in the mood for it. I was ready to move on to my newer books. So I got 30 pages in, put it down. I was just like, okay, this is going to be TBD. So this is also TBD. The one book I did DNF this month is How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days by K.M. Jackson. And y'all have no idea how mad I am about that. I stopped at chapter 9, which starts on 64. So yeah, I got 63 pages into this and I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. And the reason I didn't like it is because I hated the characters. And I didn't like the story. Okay, y'all know I can't deal with a predictable story. Y'all know I can't. But this book really would have benefited from it being predictable. And I didn't like the dual perspective of our protagonist, Bethany Lou Carlisle, and her friend True Erickson. He had chapters, she had chapters. I thought it was solely her perspective, and I would have appreciated it more. And what I mean by this book benefiting from the predictability of it, you could tell it tries really hard to not go down the path that you know that it probably should have gone down. It's trying its best to avoid and swerve around that path, but it really just should have stayed on the straight and narrow of that. I'm just saying that It should have just been only her perspective. She should have been completely and utterly oblivious to her friend's feelings, not having any for him until they started developing as they take this road trip. And her obsession with Keanu Reeves should have been very blatant. It should have been comedic, and it also should have been like comforting. Like, when she has this really shitty date with this guy, she should end it and go home and watch, Sweet November, and it comforts her. Um, and it doesn't do that. Like, we get these dual perspectives of both her and her friend True. So we know that she is attracted to him and has some sort of lingering feelings about him, and he's full on in love with her, but feels like he can never measure up. And it has nothing to do with Keanu Reeves, but more so about their friendship. So it was just like what I mean. It kept taking these small little twists and turns around this path in order to avoid, you know, predictable plot holes. But it really should have just hit every one of them. It would have been so and much more entertaining. I feel like you guys know what I'm saying, but I'm also rambling at the same time. Just know that I DNF'd this shit. I didn't like it. I didn't like the writing style, didn't like the stories, and the characters were annoying as hell. So I am really upset that this didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I made the mistake of reading this first in February. It is a socio-political horror novel that centers around slavery, and that alone should have let me know that I was not ready for this. I was not just I did not like this. Like, on Bookly, the reading app that calculates my stats, I gave this 2 stars. So yeah, when the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen, I would honestly have to say that I give this book a C minus. I'm shocked I finished it. I did want to DNF this several times because I was just annoyed. I didn't like our protagonist, and I understand that Mira is supposed to be annoying as fuck. She's supposed to be. The book does a really good job of explaining why she's so passive and why she's so inactive when it comes to racial issues, racial injustice, why she has a hard time finding her voice. And it does a good job of explaining that. But it didn't make it any less annoying when her friend slash love interest was being racially harassed at her white friend's wedding by her guest, and she just stood there and watched instead of telling everybody to fuck off and leaving with him. Like, she just stood there and watched, like, paralyzed, and then stayed. It was just, that whole scene was fucking annoying. The thing about this that was irking me the most is just that it's not that I don't think you can make a horror story or movie that centers around, American chattel slavery in the South. It's just that reading it felt, what's the word I want to use? Exploitative. It felt exploitative. It felt gratuitous. It felt explicit. This, oh my God. I hate the book A Little Life. I hate that book. And reading this book reminded me of reading that book and why I hated it. And that's exactly it. Like, this book felt, I feel like it disguises itself as attempting to say something, but really it's just a writer being irresponsible and capitalizing on what essentially feels like a moment in media. After Jordan Peele's Get Out and his social political commentary through the use of horror, I feel like there's a lot of that going on within film and television, and a lot of that is happening in books as well. It felt a lot like reading A Little Life, and everything, and I hate that book, and everything that I hate about that book, all those same emotions I had while reading it and then finishing it. This book, it felt like reading it. It felt those same emotions and feelings and opinions that I was having were cropping up as I was reading this as well. And it honestly wasn't until now that I have a frame of reference of why I really just did not like this at all. So yeah, Not a fan. And I definitely didn't like the overly graphic depictions of violence against black persons, black bodies, black spirits. Again, I understood that, this being a slavery horror novel, that some of that would come up, but it was a little too jarring for me. I'm honest to God triggered by very little, but reading this, I was just kind of like, oh God, no, please. And given that I felt like it had an exploitative nature to it, is the main reason why I was just kind of like, no, I don't need this. I know, given a book that I said I hated, a C minus seems ridiculous, but aside from all the graphic horror stuff, the commentary on uh black people, black community, black culture was very interesting. Um the story itself was garbage though. So that's why this is a C minus, not a flat out fucking F. If you guys follow me on TikTok, you already know what I'm about to say about this next book, but let me just reiterate it. If you don't, y'all fitting to be mad at me. Y'all gonna be mad at me. I did not like this. I did not like this. Really quick before I get into that. Um, Everybody keeps pronouncing it Talia. I'm assuming that's because she's British. Because I know in America it would be pronounced Talia. And that's another thing. I had no idea that Talia Hibbert was British and that she wrote British characters. So picking this up, I was just kind of like, what's with all these Britishisms and, the odd dialect? And then I realized, oh, they're not American. Their chemistry was like non existent to me. I did not like their little banter flirting. I felt like it was not even borderline rude. It was just full on rude, especially him. And I understand. I get it with the disability rep in this book. I appreciate the disability rep, but I don't like the way that it was written and it came off, it was handled. Jacob is on the spectrum, and he, he's supposed to have that very direct and very literal way of seeing things and speaking. And it's played a little bit sometimes for comedic effect, which okay, fine. I've seen Atypical. I actually really like that show. It's a comedy drama about a teenage boy who's on the spectrum. Um, and there are times on that show when he misunderstands the situation or isn't very clear about things, and it's fucking funny. But for some reason, reading it here, it just came across as him being overtly disrespectful and rude. And I just didn't understand why someone would be attracted to that. And Talia Hibbert kept trying to make it seem like they had a banter and they were flirting. And I was just like, if anybody talked to me like this in any way, shape, or form, disability or not, I would not be attracted to this person. And that was another thing. I didn't buy their attraction. Eve was fucking annoying. Their meet cute wasn't cute to me. Like I just wasn't digging this, and like it started reaching a point to where it felt like a chore to get through it. So halfway through, I started skimming, and I hate skimming a book because once I skim a book, I already know that I don't really care for it all that much, and I'm just trying to finish it to just see how it all ends, how it all ties up. But you know what? The main thing about this book that annoyed the hell out of me is that how in the hell are you gonna try to create a romance after this bitch done ran him over with the car? Let me tell you something right here and right now. I don't give a damn how attracted I am to a person. If they hit me with a car, shit is over. You in jail. And like, you in jail. Like, we not striking up a romance. I'm not like working at your little B&B making breakfast every morning. Like, we not rolling around in the hay. Like, the answer is no. You hit me with a car. There's no coming back from that. So, C minus. Only reason it's not a D is because I didn't DNF it. Only reason it's not an F is because I didn't hate it. The next book that I read on this list is a sci-fi novel called The Prey of Gods by Nikki Drayden. I don't know how I feel about this book. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. I don't know how I feel about this book. Like, it was interesting. It was fascinating. The story was very odd. But I really enjoyed trying to see where it was going. But also at the same time, I kind of disliked a lot about it. like, and I don't feel in the middle on the fence about it. I just don't know how I feel about it. Honestly, I would give my reading experience of it a B minus. I would give Nikki Drayden's writing style a B. I will give the story itself a C minus. I would give the characters a B plus. But like, you see how my rating is everywhere. It's up and down the scale. I just don't know how I feel about this. Like, and a bit of this book is colorist, or it feels that way to me. Like, this book takes place, a lot of it, in South Africa. And this lovely lady here, oh, what is her character's name? I don't feel like looking for it. But anyway, she initially starts off as this super powered, like, violent, intense antagonist. And she's the only dark skinned character in the book. The other characters are either of mixed race or light skin, or white. And I'm just kind of, something about that didn't seem right. Like, something in that milk ain't clean. It didn't seem good to me. I didn't like that for some reason. But like I said, there are elements of this that I did not like. But there are strong elements of it that I did. Like, I don't know how I feel about this book. Essentially, if I had to give it an overall rating, I'd say a B minus. I'd give it. I don't foresee myself rereading this unless to try and get a stronger hold on my opinion of it. But overall, it was fascinating. It was strange. It was weird. It was annoying. It was a story. I do recall, though, not really caring for the ending. I didn't like the way it ended. Not only did it feel abrupt, but it wasn't satisfying. But still, I guess B minus. I guess. Y'all read this book and then tell me how you felt about it. Next up, I read Moon Girl and the Devil. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. It was okay. It was pretty mid, honestly. Like, I cared more for the beautiful illustrations than I did anything that was actually happening in the fucking story. Um, Gorgeous. Oh my god, all this color. It was just great. Basically, the series. This is book one in this series. It's a Marvel series about this really incredibly intelligent girl who just doesn't fit in at school. She's smarter than her fucking teacher. She's smarter than everybody, but her intelligence isn't appreciated. And she finds this random object which opens space and time and allows for cavemen and a giant red dinosaur to move through another dimension and enter hers. And she and the dinosaur become friends and battle some bad guys. It wasn't even like predictable. It was just kind of meh. It was just kind of a meh story. I might keep up with it to see where it goes. Maybe the beginning is just a bit of a slight bore, but as their adventures grow and continue, it might get interesting. I will say there is an Avengers cameo in here that I absolutely loved, and it was probably the only part of the book that I really sat up and paid attention to, and was just kind of like, ooh, I like this part. But yeah, for the most part, it was just pretty meh. The next book I read is a short story collection called The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Dashia Filial. Oh yeah, Dashia Filial. Loved it. It was it was really fucking good. I loved all the stories in it. My favorite is, where is it? How to Make Love to a Physicist. How to Make Love to a Physicist was good. It's not my favorite. Jail wasn't bad. I felt like it was too long though. Oh, my favorite was Instructions for Married Christian Husbands. And it's basically a woman who is really attracted to married men who are pillars of their church community for some reason. It's her jam for some reason. It's just what she likes. And it's a how-to tutorial instruction on what she expects of having an affair with them. And I thought it was really clever and interesting. A lot of the stories in here are LGBTQ focused. and explore the juxtaposition of growing up in, very strong Black Christian households and also being queer, being shunned by that community that you grew up in and that you love and that you miss. There is a story here about not peach cobbler. Where is it? Is it Snowfall? Yeah, Snowfall. Snowfall's pretty good. It's a story about these two queer women in a relationship and how they both grew up in different parts of the South, and but now they live in New York, having been ostracized by their community and their families for their queerness. And one of them really desperately misses the South, and she gives this long, beautiful list of, yes, the South is this and that, but let me tell you how I felt, how I saw it, where I grew up. And the way she describes it is just so gorgeous and beautiful. And having a mother from the South and family from the South, like, she hit everything. Like, the American South can be glorious and beautiful, and you know, uh, being raised in the Black community within that area can be just incredible. But it's, can also be damaging to you to the point where you feel like you need to run, and you run up north where it snows and you hate the snow, and your hatred of the snow uh, brings back fond memories of when you didn't have to deal with it, and that breaks your heart because then you remember all the people that left you behind and you had to leave behind. So Snowfall's a great story in here. Dear Sister. I'm trying to remember what happens in Dear Sister. Oh, Dear Sister is a good one. Dear Sister is basically a long letter that um, a woman is writing to who she believes is her fourth sister. Their father was a philanderer, and they all have different mothers. She has two other sisters that she grew up with, even though they all have different mothers. And they find out they have a fourth after their father dies. And you're reading a letter that she writes to her, telling her to, you know, you are welcome within this home. Despite the piece of shit that our dad was, maybe you had a different relationship with him than we did. But despite that, like, just know that you have three sisters here who can't wait to meet you whenever you're ready. So that's a great one. Peach Cobbler is a great story. It's about a mother and a daughter and how they end up at odds due to the mother having an affair with the pastor at their church. But yeah, I loved all the stories in here. I thought they were so good. They were so great. The Filial is an incredible writer. I cannot wait to pick up anything she does next or anything else she has on her backlog that I haven't, clearly gotten to yet. All right, next up we have The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This was the technically the last book I read of February. I know I said Island Queen was the last one, but I started reading Island Queen, realized that I wasn't in the mood for it necessarily, put it down, picked up The Nickel Boys. I really love this book. It's tragic. It's sad. And it's based off a real boys reformatory in Florida, and you can Google it, and all the things that unfortunately happened there, and how they discovered the dead body of all those boys who were sent there and unfortunately murdered. And it was integrated but segregated. Like, there were black and white boys were sent to this school and abused not equally, but they were also separated within the school. Like, the white boys had their side of the yard in their own bunkhouses and dormitories, and the same with the black boys. But anyway, basically, if you've ever seen Sleepers or Shawshank Redemption, this is basically a combination of both those stories, or at least that's how I felt reading it. I was like, man, this is like Sleepers meets Shawshank. And you're following Elwood, Curtis, and Turner, two black boys who are sent to this reformatory school. Elwood is sent there by accident, but child, this is the 60s. They don't give no fucks. They just trying to feel, you know what? I didn't even just say this, that's the 60s, because that's what they do now with prisons. Prisons need a certain quota and a certain amount of people going, so people get arrested under false convictions, under false crimes, falsely convicted, end up going to prison just to fill beds. And that's basically what happens to Elwood. He finds himself in a situation he didn't ask to be in. he pleads his case, and the person that he was with insists on his innocence, but courts don't want to hear it. And they send him to the Nickel, which is a reformatory school in Florida. And there he meets Turner, who he ends up becoming very good friends with. And you just read about the horrific abuses that they suffer physically and sexually, and how their abusers got no problem with killing them to keep them quiet. And it's just, whew, this should not have been the last book I read of the month. But regardless, it was really, really good. It was phenomenal. It was good. It broke my heart. And I strongly suggest that you look up the real story that the Nickel Boys is based off of. And then if you still have the stomach and the heart to go ahead and read this book. 5 stars, 10 out of 10, A+. This book was incredible. Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby was just so damn good. Oh my god. This book has no right being as good as it is. It has no fucking right being as good as it is. The book is about a black father and a white father. Both of them have a very intense criminal past. They're both ex-cons. And it is about how their adult sons are married to each other and unfortunately murdered. And how they both go out and seek revenge for those who murdered their sons. And it is their way of sort of creating some sort of redemption or apology to their sons for being so homophobic and angry about who their sons were when they were alive. And quite possibly, hopefully, gaining some sort of peace from that. There are 2 twists in the book. I would not call them predictable, but I would say that I did guess them right away, but I wasn't mad about it. When it happened, I was like, yes, got it right, and that's awesome. But I think it's just a matter of like good writing and foreshadowing. Like I wouldn't call those 2 twists that happen in the book predictable at all. I think there was just some really good foreshadowing, and so when it happened, I was just kind of like, yes, okay, fuck, where are we going from here? Like, what's happening next? Even like the tragic violence that happens in it is just, like I said when describing when the reckoning comes. Like, I'm not a person that's easily triggered. So the violence that happens in this, I was just kind of like, okay, where we go? It had, you know what? It had the same tone as like True Detective, like the first season. And I love that. I love that show. I love the first season. I love that tone. And that's exactly the same tone that this book had. That very Southern Gothic, slow, burning tone. Just, oh, it was so good. And like, it's a mystery thriller. You're trying to they're trying to figure out who murdered their sons and why. And as you move along with them, like, you get pieces and evidence and suspects along the way. And these 2 guys are really just out for it. Like, these 2 play no games. They are not here for your bullshit. When I said that they were ex-cons with criminal backgrounds, that's speaking lightly to it. They will get rid of a body in a second and you can't play them. Buddy Lee, who is the white man, the father of whose son clearly was white, but who's the white man in the story. He is hilarious. He's one of those people that can't keep his trap shut in the worst possible situations. Like, no matter what the hell's happening, he's got some smart shit to say. And it's funny at times. It's honest to God funny at times. But I absolutely love this book. It was so good. It's so awesome having read Beartown, which was a 5-star read in January, and having to read this, which is like a 5-star read this month, along with the Nickel Boys and the Secret Lives of Church Ladies. It was just really, really great. It's always great reading such a something that you end up grasping and you end up liking a lot. But so good. And I did mention a few times on Twitter how I need a miniseries of this. I need somebody to adapt this quickly, and it appears that Paramount is going to do that. Apparently, the book was optioned by Paramount. There is a website, I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it at the bottom, but they do a fan casting of this book, and I'm not mad at a single ounce of it. I'm not mad at a single cast choice that they a fan cast that they make of this. I have my difference of opinions, like who I would want to see play it, but I think that they did a really good job of it. I'll put that link at the bottom. But yeah, um, sorry, yeah, I won't put it at the bottom. I'll put it in the description. Whew. um, but yeah, I this book. I can't talk any more about it because I don't want to give anything away. But yes, that is what the story is about. It's about a black father and a white father in the South in Virginia, in rural Virginia, who seek revenge for their son's murders, and it's just so good. It's not just a mystery thriller. It's also a really in-depth character study of these two men and their relationships to their sons, and why they have the relationships they have to their sons, and what they're hoping to fix and gain by going out and doing this. It, like I said it on my Instagram and on my Facebook, and I'll say it here. This book is so good, I'm embarrassed for anyone who hasn't read it yet. Those are all the books that I read. The two I TBD, the one I DNF'd. We've got some turds, and we got some shooting stars amongst the mixed, just like we do every month. But with this month, the books I didn't like, I was actually very surprised I didn't like them. I had high hopes and expectations for them, but unfortunately, they did not meet them, and that happens. Oh well, que sera, sera, you know? Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I will see you guys again very soon in my next video. Wash your hands, wash your face, take care of your feet, get vaccinated, get your booster. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
I'm outside in an AMG, right outside.